Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Fantastic. Hi, everyone. This is Rainey Robinson with Savage Words Podcast. For those of you that don't know me, I was lucky enough to be on 3 seasons of Dog and Beth on the Hunt. I was on A&E with Dog and Beth Fight for Their Lives, and I co-starred on Dogs Most Wanted with one of my most favorite people on the planet, and that was Beth Chapman. I have a very special guest, and I know that a lot of you probably already recognize her. Her name is Heather Hall, and she is just one of those just beautiful little souls that I really want you guys to hear her story. She is she has like an amazing personality, but more than the personality, she has an amazing backstory. And today is a very special day for her. She has a 10-year anniversary, and I'm going to let her tell you what that anniversary is. Hi, sweetheart. How are you?
I am doing great. How are you, Rainey? Nice to
Good.
see you.
Thank you so much. It's nice to be seen here in quarantine, right?
I know, right?
So tell everybody, let's give a little backstory on who you are.
Well, my name is Heather Hall, and I'm a wife and mother of two beautiful girls, and I have a little granddaughter that's 2.5. I am a domestic abuse survivor. I'm also a 10-year cancer survivor, and that is today. Yay. And as well as a near fatal drowning survivor as well. I almost drowned last year. So I've been through a lot of stuff as well as some childhood traumas and things like that. Narcissistic abuse survivor as well from my mother. So, so a lot of people are going through stuff like that. But
Oh yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Oh yeah.
they don't
It's
realize it.
there's no shortage. There is no shortage of narcissistic people. None.
So I like to try to bring awareness, through mental health blogging or video blogs, whatever you want to call it, just to try to bring awareness to all these different things that I've been through because I don't feel like I have been through them, in vain. I want to use them for a purpose to maybe help somebody else recognize why they have the mental thoughts that they have, that a lot of times it might not even be their fault, but it does cause bipolar, other mental disorders as well when you are abused from a young age.
Oh, I agree. I think that all of that changes who you are, and I think it
Hmm.
changes how you deal with uh,
Things.
everything. I think that it can permeate every single facet of every single relationship that you have.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, and yeah, and God love you because that is a tough road. I mean, that's a tough road because I think that we spend a fair amount of our time thinking that we're the actual crazy ones. Um,
Hmm.
especially when
True.
we're around people that do that, and if you're little and you don't have the words to even say or even know we don't even know what's normal. Like I
We
grew
don't
up,
even know what's wrong. Yeah, you
yeah,
don't
I
even.
mean, I grew up in the 60s, where the Brady Bunch, I thought everyone's family looked like
I know.
I was the weird one, you know. And yeah, like how come we're very happy, and I don't hear a whole lot of happiness going on in this house. But so in 2010, you were diagnosed. You received some news. How did that
Yes,
go?
June 10th, 2010. I received news that I had invasive ductal carcinoma. It was HER2 positive. So back to May of that same year, I had felt a lump in my breast. It didn't feel right to me. It was painful. I went and got it checked out. I figured it was probably a plugged duct, and it turned out to be invasive ductal carcinoma, HER2 positive, which is a very, very aggressive as far as how fast it proliferates. I had a 98% proliferation rate, which means out of 100, it was growing about as fast as the hair on my legs. So it
Oh
was
wow!
growing extremely fast. So he said I
Oh,
probably had only had it for about a year. And it was already a 5 centimeter tumor, one tumor, but I had it in 3 places in my breast, plus
how
in my lymph nodes already.
how did you find it? Did you find it from just like a regular exam, or how did you find it?
I had a snowboarding accident a couple years prior that left some scar tissue. I was lucky enough the tumor had grown underneath that scar tissue, which caused me pain. and which caused alarm. So that's how I found it. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Was through that. My cat Smokey actually found it. He started sniffing and sniffing under my armpit and kept looking at me for like weeks, like what's wrong with you? Are you a boob guy or what? But it turns out that my surgeon was, or my doctor was like, yeah, he's probably trying to tell you, hey, there's something wrong. You need to pay attention to it.
yeah,
So yeah.
yeah.
So I
So what?
it was a shock. It was a
Yeah.
shock.
Oh, yeah. I bet. I mean, that's like hard. That's hard news to assimilate. So, at the time, of course, your brain must go in 9,000 different directions. I'm like, oh, what do we do next? And how do we do it? And how is it done? And then what's going to happen to me? And then all my kids and like all the million things that must. And if you have any type of anxiety or PTSD like you
Yeah.
did,
Uh-huh.
you know, I mean, I can only imagine what.
I was at work. I was at work when I got the news because the doctor's like, I'm just going to tell you over the phone. Because if I tell you to come to my office, you're already going to know it's going to be bad. You're going to be crying. And you know what I mean? So she just told me over the phone. She just told me, she's like, I have the news, but I need you to step outside. So, and I just remember getting the news, and it's so weird. All of a sudden, it's like my whole world, everything just, I mean, I noticed the parking lot, those concrete bars that are yellow. I noticed every crack and crevice, and it's like almost like you just start noticing every little detail, like, oh my God, I'm I'm dying, I'm dying, I'm dead. You know what I mean? Like instantaneously when you hear that word.
Oh, yeah.
And especially the way that they say it, and invasive ductal carcinoma, it's like, oh, I mean, I don't know those words, and to me it sounds so big, and so, you know what I mean, it's
Yeah.
crazy. And I
Yeah.
had to have somebody drive me home, and my mom was there cooking lunch for my girls. The house smelled of macaroni and cheese. I still remember what my girls were wearing. I still remember what they were doing.
Wow.
And I said, I have some news, and I had to sit down and tell them. And I
Yeah.
prayed to God the whole way there. I said, please just give me the strength and the words to tell them what I need to tell them that is appropriate for their age.
Yeah.
And they were old enough to understand. And you know what he did? I sat there and I had this sense of calm. And I said, girls, I have cancer. And of course they broke down. I allowed them to do whatever they needed to do. And I picked them up and I said, let's go to the swimming pool. And I put my bathing suit on and got to the swimming pool. And I said, we know the problem. Now we're going to fix it.
Yeah.
It's fixable. It can be fixable.
Yeah, and I'm
So, and
sure that at
I had my
that,
phone, and yeah,
yeah,
PET
I'm
scans and MRIs and all that stuff flew in after that.
oh, yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm sure even at that point, you probably didn't even believe that yourself.
When you go through it, it's not even you picture you like you're watching a movie.
Yeah,
Like I was the actor,
yeah.
like, you know what I'm saying? It's not me. I think that's the way the brain, you disassociate from it when it's you. You
I
know
think
what I mean?
I think you have to. I think part
You
of
have
your
to
psyche
realize
is that you have to, yeah.
but I found so much humor along the way though, and the things that I did, even after treatments and stuff. I mean, after every treatment, every Friday I'd go and have 4 Long Island iced teas. I mean, I had, so much, I mean, we'd have fun,
Yeah,
and
you
yeah,
bring up a really good point because I actually watched Beth kind of do that. Like she almost had like, I'm rolling the dice. I have nothing to lose. I got
yeah.
nothing to lose at this point, and
Mhm.
I watched her actually kind of do that. After you were diagnosed, so did the doctor told you, did they tell you that you were going to have surgery, or how did that all come up? Because not everyone does have a mastectomy. Not everyone does.
Right, not everybody does. Some
Right.
people can do a lumpectomy, but the reason mine was in like 3 different places, so but what they do first is chemo first to shrink the tumor. So, I was lucky enough that my oncologist actually double dosed me by accident, and he told me that. He's like, "If you want somebody else," I said, "No, maybe you were meant to do that." Within 3 treatments, it shrunk down from 5 centimeters down to almost a centimeter and a half.
Oh my God. Wow.
So I
Wow.
responded really well to therapy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so they shrink it first, and then, since it was in my lymph nodes, they did the sentinel node, where they use the dye and stuff, but
Right.
they ended up taking all of my lymph nodes out. So I do struggle with a little bit of lymphedema, which is where my hand swells. I just joke with people, I'll punch you with my fat hand, you know. But yeah, so no, so they did, and he didn't want to take this other breast, but I wrote him a long letter. I begged him to, because I was 38 at the time. I said, no, take them both. I've heard too many stories of it coming back. I want to concentrate on my life and my kids. I don't want to have to worry about it again. So
Had you heard stories that one was taken and the other one wasn't, and then the other one gets a, you
mhm.
had heard that?
After every appointment, while I was waiting in the waiting room, I get there half an hour early just to ask people,
Wow,
ask other women.
wow.
Yeah, I did my research, but I didn't do it online. I did it with actual people.
Yeah.
They said, no, 3 years later, 2 years later, 5 years later. I said, I'm not doing this. I'm not going to have that constant worry all the time.
I
And look,
I agree with that strategy. I mean, it's not like this is different if you get a
hmm
trauma in one breast, and for whatever reason it has to be removed. This is
hmm
something that's internal. And
hmm
the fact that it's even attacking a breast would lead me to believe that it would attack another breast. So I think that takes a lot of courage, a lot of
hmm
courage. You and I, spoke a little bit before we started doing this, but I was mentioning like how as women we are so our breasts mean everything to us. It is a sign of femininity. It is a sign of, uh, motherhood. It's a sign of our femaleness. And
hmm
I think that I think some women truly struggle when that is removed.
Yeah.
And that's in the part of that is our societal conditioning to that. And the
hmm
other part of it is just straight up biology. It
Yeah.
is, a straight biological thing that we have this part here and that part there. And when those parts aren't there,
hmm
that I think starts a whole nother psychological, warfare in your head. Did you struggle with that?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, especially when, they're removed and all you see is these thin little lines. And then, your brain, I scan my body and my brain was just like, like literally my eyes will go back and forth, like, that's not you. Like what happened?
Yeah.
Like they've been deleted almost, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like, because it happens overnight. You don't have time to process it,
Yeah.
you've been burned, you've been, poisoned, and now you're going to be amputated.
Right.
So, they're here one day, they're gone, you wake up and you're glad that they're gone though, because it's like, I called them Smith and Wesson because they were trying to kill me. So,
You
but
know,
that was the name I had for them. I couldn't
very
wait for them to leave me, you
yeah,
know.
and it's really interesting that you
But
just gave that analogy that, you'd been burned and poisoned and, and now dissected. And a lot of
mhm,
people don't look at it that way. Because they don't understand the actual process of everything that it is you're going through. And God love you. I mean, did you when you was it a decision to do the mastectomy, or was it just no, you've got to have this done?
yeah, it was a decision for me. I was like, no, we're doing this. We're doing this. I'm a single mother with 2 kids,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna be damned if
Yeah.
anybody's gonna raise these kids but me. If I'm watching them grow up.
Yeah.
So the mindset that I had was is that I am not sick. I told my breast is sick. This is me. I am not my breast. I am Heather, and Heather is not sick.
I love
So Heather
that.
is not sick. And I actually made friends with cancer for a minute. I said, look, bud, I said, I know you want to live. I said, but you ain't gonna win, you know? So I said, one of us got to go and it's gonna be you. And
Yeah.
every chemo, I would visualize that, you know what I mean? That
Yeah.
bye,
Yeah.
Felicia, you're out of
Yeah.
here. So,
I love that. Yeah. Get another
it's a
address.
mindset you have to have, you have to have
Yeah.
that mindset that say, you know what, screw you. But I also found it early. I was stage 2B. So, I also found it earlier to where it could be cured.
But it goes quickly. I mean, Beth was when she was found, she was at stage 2. She was just
Yeah.
bordering between the end of 2 and on to 3, and look what happened.
Yeah.
It moved very quickly, so it was very aggressive. So, yeah, I don't want to overemphasize it, but I don't want to minimize it either. I mean, stage 2 is you're on
Mhm.
your way. You're
Yeah,
right.
you've
And
got to
yeah,
do something
and
now.
so it's nothing, it is nothing to mess around with. And I know that like it's so overwhelming because it's, there are many different types of cancers and there's many different things. Yours happen to be genetic. Is that
Mhm.
true?
Yeah, I've just recently done some research back on HER2 positive breast cancer, and I was just reading an article as a matter of fact last night. And so this wasn't information wasn't available when I was going through it, but yeah, they said that the HER2 protein genetic tumors that are caused are actually caused like right after conception. So it was something, in my kind of like, I was negative for the BRCA, but HER2 positive proteins, we all have HER2 proteins everywhere. But mine was just conditioned to just make copies like a Xerox machine that just wouldn't quit. So that's
Right.
all cancer is cells that refuse to die.
Right.
That's what cancer is, just cells that refuse to die, that grow tumor, invade spaces, and that's how you
Yeah.
die.
I just so you did ultimately have reconstructive surgery, and
Mhm.
the reconstructive surgery was uh, not successful because you ended up having 5 additional surgeries after the reconstructive surgery to correct the issues on the first surgery. Is that true?
Mhm. Yes, that's true. Yeah, because my surgeon just botched me. He did what's called a tram flap, which is where they take your stomach fat and they actually it's microsurgery. It's 10-hour surgery and actually push it up and make a breast out of it. Okay. And then the other side is when they, did the expanders and then put an implant in. Well, he just did a horrific job. I mean, he left me with big, huge scars. He left me, I mean, they look like if you took like a mashed scoop of mashed potatoes and flattened them with a spoon, that's what they look like, except with a big
Oh,
scar in the middle. And
wow.
my surgeon out here literally had tears in his eyes. He's like, he does not have the right to call himself a board certified plastic surgeon.
Wow.
So
And
yeah,
when was the last surgery, like the date of the last surgery?
it was actually April 3rd of 2019.
My God. So you went through this for 9 years.
Mhm.
9 years from diagnosis to restoration.
Yeah, because I took some time off because I was tired. But when you have to look in the mirror and see that, it's easy for people to say, "Well, it's all no big deal," but I said it hasn't happened to you. You know what I mean? It has not happened to you.
Correct.
So when you have
Correct.
to so scar, it's a daily reminder every single day,
Yeah.
of something that was once beautiful has now turned into something ugly. That's why I hate the breast cancer pink ribbon because it's not beautiful. If you want to take that pink ribbon, then take it and you cut it up and you burn it and you amputate it. That's what cancer is. It's not pretty.
Yeah.
It is not pretty. you know it's put into, and I believe in awareness, so don't get me wrong, I know there's ribbons for a lot of different things, and I'm so glad that we have the awareness. However, just, it is not this pretty little pink ribbon,
Oh,
that they
and I think that most people would agree with you. I think they'd
you know
agree with you. And especially anyone that's been through that. Yes, you're right. It's a cute symbol, and and it is very nice to draw awareness to that. But I think that when you get right down to the nuts and bolts about just how effed up the whole trip is, like that's
Mhm,
9 years, 9 years that this has now occupied your brain. And
mhm,
I know that you're so they after the surgery, you had the surgery in 2001 or 2011 that removed
mhm,
both breasts, and
mhm.
from that point forward you were told that you're cancer free. They took the lymph nodes, and is that?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that was the happiest phone call of my life. That was
Yeah.
the happiest phone call of my life. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm certain that there's a certain amount of relief that comes with it. And then with that certain relief, I'm sure that there's a certain amount of trepidation going forward.
there is, because then I healed up from the double mastectomy, then did the 33 rounds of radiation. And then they're like, my oncologist, like, you're not going to be best buds for the next at least 5 years. So, so during those first 5 years, I mean, that's tough because the chances of reoccurrence are extremely high.
Yeah.
And, I was thankful to have Herceptin, and Taxotere, which does help reduce Herceptin helps block the cancer from coming back. Taxotere helps it from making a home somewhere else. So I was blessed to be able to have those treatments, but still, I was approaching my 40s, and, aches and pains come along with getting older and stuff like that. So it's like, yeah, for a while there, I mean, um, I'll be honest with you. I mean, a few times, and my kids kept me here, but a few times I contemplated suicide. I was like, how am I going to live like this with this in my head all the time?
Yeah.
But, and then, the other traumas, of course, that I had gone through. So it's like, how am I going to do this? I'm going to be worried sick my whole life. I'm going to have to be on anti-anxiety medications forever. But that's really, I'm like, God got me through this. He's going to get me through afterwards too. So I
Right.
had to get back into my faith and my prayer and just allow Jesus and say, hey, you know what? We all have our time, and I accept whatever time you give me.
I really relate to that because I just really feel like when some things are like the pressure of some things that are so overwhelming, and not just overwhelming, they're overwhelming when you know what the answers are, but even more overwhelming when if you have any shred of anxiety that, we had when, from whatever trauma that we went through when we were younger, the inability to deal with that, and just simply having wounds that are still unattended, emotional wounds. And I relate to that because you know the fear of just all the what ifs. What if this comes back? What if this is a lie? What if the test is wrong? What if it comes back next year? And if you have any, if you suffer from anxiety, that's going to be a familiar story because we just fill in the blank of whatever the hell it is. And,
Hmm.
I just really have to admire you a lot because, that's a decade of, more than a decade, 11 years of a lot. That's a lot.
Hmm. But my kids, and my family, have got me through it. They were my best medicine.
Yeah.
April and Kendall,
Yeah.
I mean, they really were, because, we had a lot of fun. We did a lot of crazy stuff, and,
Yeah.
but but we got through it together. And I swear, I mean, they kept every day, gave me a purpose to get out of bed every morning,
I
to
love that.
go to work,
I love
to,
that.
focus on other people. My coworkers knew, but my patients, I worked at a pharmacy, had no idea what I was going through, because
Yeah.
I wanted to concentrate on them. I wanted to be free of it. I had to be free of it for a while,
Yeah.
I
And,
had to be
and,
free of
and through every major trauma and every major, cornerstone in life, whether it's good or bad or not, mostly when it's bad, there are many things that are born uh,
Oh yeah.
out of that, yeah, out of that struggle. And for you, what was born?
Oh, I'm gonna cry. So bear with me.
Do baby, it's fine. What was born?
My beautiful husband. Oh my God.
Yeah,
That victory of when Jesus says, out of sometimes out of the worst, trials comes out the greatest victories, and that is so true, guys. There's so much love on the end of the journey of, no matter what you're going through, whether it's cancer, or whether you think that, I had a boyfriend who broke up with me at the beginning, who said he couldn't date somebody who's going to have scars, and now look, I am loved. I'm loved for me, for
yeah,
who I am. I'm not my scars. I'm not my boobs. I am Heather, and this beautiful man that's come into my life has allowed me to heal from wounds he didn't even cause. And he just held me and allowed me to cry. And I've been through therapy. I've gotten better because I wanted to be better for him and for me and for my kids,
yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
And God, I know there's a God because of everything He's got me through. And oh my God, and this beautiful man that I have now. I mean, I I I won the love lotto. I mean, out of all the lotteries in life, that's the best one to win. And
Well,
I
I
just
think
get
that,
overwhelmed with grateful tears. I'm just so
but
blessed. I'm so
there's a fair amount, that you need to realize that you deserve all that too. You know what I mean? That you deserve, like, there are points where the universe will let you off the mat. They will
yeah,
go, okay, she's had enough. Okay, let's throw in this really gorgeous guy that's gonna love her forever. So I
you
think
know.
that, and listen, that's reflective of you. It's reflective of you because you couldn't attract that if it were not possible. And just to rewind you back to the guy that said that he couldn't have scars, guarantee he's probably with a blow up doll right now and it's got seams down the side and that kind of stuff. So throw that in there too for you.
That's because he wasn't meant to be with me. I was meant to walk this path to get to my husband, the
Listen,
broken road.
we don't want anyone that's got those kind of
Uh,
limitations. No,
no, oh,
absolutely not. So get yourself like a little painting and just go on about yourself. Keep,
exactly.
keep yourself off the street for us real women. Uh, but aside from your beautiful husband, that we see all the pictures, and he certainly does adore you, and you've made a beautiful home life. But you created a roadmap for other women,
hmm Yeah, there
and
is so much
yeah,
life after,
yeah,
during, before, and
yeah,
like I said, I my message box is open to anybody who, needs to talk, vent, whatever, with somebody who's gone through it. Your
yeah,
caregivers and your family, they
yeah,
try to understand, God bless them, but someone who's really walked the walk with everything, and I'll walk it with you. I'll be
yeah.
more than happy to walk it with you.
Yeah,
You know.
and the scenery may be a tad different, but the destination is the same.
Mhm.
And that's what, I think the isolation is probably one of the hardest things to deal with. And you and I had spoke a little bit about your home life when that all kind of happened. And there's a thing that's called anticipatory grief. And a lot of people will go through that because they don't know how to deal with the loss of you. And so what they do
Mhm.
is they will isolate you, they'll
Mhm.
diminish your experience, and they'll do a lot of those things so it won't hurt as much if you die.
Yeah.
And what they do is they rob themselves out of that experience, and they end up isolating someone they actually really love because they're incapable of learning how to negotiate and navigate such a tremendous life experience. And
Right.
I really give you just so many props for that takes a lot of chutzpah to go through 11 years of that. It really does.
I got my balls back. They're just higher.
But that voice is so pretty. It's so pretty. I bet you can hit those really high notes now,
All right.
right? Oh, well, honey, what would you like everyone to know? What do you want everyone to know?
I just want you guys to know that, no matter what you are facing right now, that, God above you loves you and He's with you. And, you know, there's always room, there's always going to be people out there that are going to diminish, that are going to maybe even hate you for what you're going through, or don't want to hear it, or not validating you. Especially, you know what, the only person that needs to validate your feelings is you.
Yeah,
And there's a lot of other people out there that love you, and
yeah,
please don't focus on the negative people.
right.
That, don't let it stick. Just tell them they're wasting the hating and just keep move on. You know what I mean? Focus on the people that love you and truly love you, and learn to accept that love. Not only, give it, but also receive it. You have to learn to receive it, and
And
receive it.
you bring up a really, like, those are two really important parts, is to be able to receive it.
Mhm.
because, you know, our gender isn't very good at that. Well, some
Mm-mm.
are good, but for the most part, we're givers, and you know that. So
Right.
receiving that and allowing people to love you, even though we may feel damaged right where we stand, allowing people to love you, you know,
Yeah.
it's just the best, you know, and it takes a while to get used to and get good at doing that, but also
That's
giving.
why the hate sinks in, because we're used to that. We're
Yeah.
used to that.
But
Yeah.
also giving, like, you know, like, almost every single interaction I see with you is always totally on the positive. I mean, you could be having a very challenging day, but you always flip it to the positive, and that is really a key difference in, like, highly successful people. Highly successful people will never focus on that one, or you know, one terrible thing, or they'll focus on the 40 good things they have, even if they're little.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got to be blessed for the little things, because they're all blessings.
Do you have a blog? You're still doing a blog or no?
I haven't done my blog, but yeah, but my blog is actually called it's Never Settle 71.blogspot.com.
I love that.
So it's a humor. It's got some funny photos, funny stories, and it's just the realness of going through breast cancer from basically start to finish.
Yeah.
It
I
shows pictures of my reconstruction and after my double mastectomy, after my radiation, you know,
I
good,
love
bad, and the ugly.
Yeah. Listen, this is real stuff. This is real stuff
Hmm.
that happens to real people in real time,
Hmm.
you know? And so, all
It's
right,
true.
honey. Anything else you want to leave anybody with? I know that, you know, most people know how to reach
No,
out to you and find you and all that. And
I just want to thank you, Rainey, for everything, and thank you for having me, and thank you guys for watching. And I love you all. I love you, Rainey.
I love you too. This is Rainey Robinson with Savage Words Podcast. Thank you so much.